It being time, I now call the Appointments Committee meeting of the Gardner City Council's Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, meeting at 6 p.m. to order. I'd like the clerk to reflect that all members of the committee are present. Chair Tyros, Councilors Hagelin and Heath, also present is Mayor Nicholson. Is anybody recording today's meeting? There being none. Reading of prior minutes, we have none. Interview of the following appointees. A measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Thomas Zupa to the position of building commissioner. Good evening.
Good evening,
Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Councilors. Commissioner Zupa has been with us for a couple months now, serving in his position on a temporary appointment. I've been very, very impressed during his time in the office. I define his approach as firm but fair, being able to work with individuals to get to where they need to be, but still following the laws and rules and regulations that dictate how the building code is supposed to operate. I have received very little complaints about the work that's been done over there, which when your job is to critique the work of someone else, it's hard to get very little complaints back. The approach he's taken to modernizing the department through new technological means by outfitting inspectors. You'll see items on the full council agenda this evening that include transfer requests from salary appropriations to expense appropriations to equip every inspector with a tablet. That way they can get their inspection report done out in the field where they can actually see it and upload everything together with pictures included, rather than having to try to do a couple of inspections and then come back and try to remember, okay, well, what did I say 5 inspections ago based on my notes that I wrote down here? We're gonna get a lot more of an accurate reporting system done, a lot more documented and I guess firmer foundational basis for any decisions that get made by the building department. Tom has really worked too on making sure that we update the documentation that we have in the building department, because right now we're missing a lot of documentation for stuff that happened in the past that we're trying to catch back up to date on, just to make sure all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. He's a local native of the city of Gardner, may be a resident of a surrounding town right now. We won't give him a shout out, but grew up here in Gardner and knows the community and knows it well. And I think that that adds another great perspective to that position too, as he's got a vested interest in what's going on here in Gardner. And I think that that plays a big role into why he's been so successful.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Zupa, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the committee.
Sure. Tom Zupa, Building Commissioner, City of Gardner. Just to expand on what the mayor had stated is when I first came into code enforcement, I was lucky enough to work under a commissioner who saw something in me and mentored me, taught me how to read the codes and read the laws, how they were written, and not how we have gotten into the habit of interpreting them on our own. It's proven to be an asset in my career so far. And that's, those are techniques and tactics that I've carried into the city of Gardner with me. As the mayor stated, this Gardner is my hometown. My children go to school here. I have a vested interest in this community. Moving Gardner forward and moving it forward safely and appropriately is one of my top priorities. When we talk about documentation within the department, we brought in new plan review checklists that the department has never used in the past. This now allows an inspector to, when they get building permit plans for whatever they may be able to systematically go through the building code and research every single section of the code that applies to that permit. So it's far more accurate. The code books, the training material that we're going to be providing, the upfitting of the vehicles that we're going to be providing allows the inspectors or will allow the inspectors to do their jobs as they were intended to be done. What folks often forget is the role of the building official is first and foremost public safety. We do provide a service, but it's first and foremost public safety. It's making sure that our first responders are safe when they go into a building. It's making sure that all of our residents and our guests of the city of Gardner are safe. It's a big job, requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication. Both are all are characteristics that I have and traits that I've shown in this position so far. So it's not something that I take lightly at all.
I appreciate that, Commissioner.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Hagelin.
Sure, thank you first and foremost for coming out tonight before us. An impressive few months, it sounds like, under your temporary appointment. I think just 2 quick questions. how long were you previously in, you know, similar capacities, and then,
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
After that, yeah.
Previously, it was almost 3 years in the city of Fitchburg. That's where I was mentored by Commissioner Barbara Dwaro there. And then luckily I was able to, this position came up and I applied for it. And I'm thankful that I was able to be given this opportunity by Mayor Nicholson.
Great, thank you. And just one quick question. Any particular projects you want to highlight or anything you're excited about that you've been working on in your...
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot happening in the city, and it's spread out throughout the city. We worked closely with the school department to bring that elementary school into compliance. They've been throughout this process. They've been really great assets, providing documentation for me. We've got a lot of commercial development going on here in the city obviously with Aldi and Chipotle coming up. The residential stuff has slowed a little bit, but we are still having a lot of interest. A couple of forms that I've brought along with us. We're digitizing our process. Still offer paper applications for anybody that wants them. One of the things that we do is it's called a form of intent. Many other municipalities use it, sometimes under a different name. When somebody wants to know what they can or cannot do with a parcel structure within the city of Gardner, they start there. And it allows me to give them a comprehensive zoning determination for what they can do and a clear path for success. So that's been instrumental in our success so far in the building department.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Hagelin. Councilor Heath.
I'm going to echo what Councilor Hagelin went in and said. Thank you for coming out tonight. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but me and him actually worked for maybe a day or two together. For free to
Many years ago.
Probably 18 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
18 years ago.
When I had 3 jobs at the same time.
Yes. And he was always of this size, and he was a gentle giant, is what we used to call him, for the Wreck-It Ralph, one or the other. However, knowing you then to knowing you now, when I watch from afar, social media, things as such, see you on the passings. And it's always been, good vibes, everything else.
I appreciate that.
But we never really talked business.
Sure.
Very impressed.
Thank you.
Very impressed ever since you came aboard. I know, what you were doing over there in Fitchburg. I was watching from afar and everything else. I think that you are, from what I've been told from those that you have dealt with, firm but fair. And I mean, I've heard nothing but great things about what you're doing. And again, me personally, as a friend, as someone that has known you, I can't even say as a friend, as an ex-co-worker who has later on in life became a friend, I just want to go ahead and say, I'm thoroughly impressed in you as an individual. So.
Well, thank you, Councilor. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me to know that I'm doing a good job. There's an old saying that I dislike very much, and it's, if you're not getting complained about, you're not doing your job right. It's a saying that I've never taken to. You will always get complained about, especially when you have to take enforcement action on somebody. But I stand by what I put in my cover letter, is that my goal is to enforce the building code and the laws associated with it in a tactful manner, tactful and respectful. There's no other way to do this job. So I thank you for your kind words. I do appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you for your service, and I'm pretty sure the city of Gardner thanks you as well. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Heath. Commissioner, we've been on the CDBG committee.
Yes.
Together for a number of years now, and through various city processes we've interacted, and I echo the mayor's appreciation and remarks that you're doing a good job, and I think you're certainly serving the citizens well. The only technical question I have is for the building commissioner. I'm assuming you have special licenses or certifications that you have to ascertain and keep up to date. Is that correct? Or?
Yep, so I am what is called conditionally appointed. As a conditional appointee, you have 12 months following the 6-month probationary period to get all of your licenses. When you receive approval from the BOCC, Building Official Certification Committee, that letter gives you approval to take all of your local exams as well as all of your commissioner exams. So that would put me some point about the end of the year. So again, one test left. Once I have that final test, send it off to the state, send it up to the BBRS, and then they give you the license from there. So one test left. I would have loved to have had it done already, but as we all know, we've been down a local building inspector for the better part of last year. We were down a clerk as well for the better part of last year. So taking the helm takes a while to right the ship, small incremental changes. But I've had the privilege because I've learned a bit more than what I wanted to in such a short period of time. But doing the job of 3 individuals puts a slight delay, but I have no concerns with passing on this.
I think that's completely fair, and hearing about the digitization of your department and the standardization of processes, I think you've been well busy too.
Sure. It's a lot of work. I don't take days off.
For the public's awareness, certainly when I was younger, there was certainly many red X's on buildings in town. Public safety is a big aspect of your role. Are there anything on the horizon that you'd like to inform the public to be aware of, things coming down the pipeline?
So nothing as far as red X's or condemned buildings. We've had the many conversations in the CDBG meetings and council meetings about the existing properties that we do have that we've red X'd. There's a process. Some individuals will like properties to just be slapped with an X, but there's a very distinct process. So they have to pose an immediate danger to life or limb, or they have to be especially unsafe in case of fire. If they're occupied, that's a very different process on how we have to go about doing that. We have red X'd quite a few buildings, even since I started here. Those are all buildings that are being looked at from the city, or being looked at by the city for demolition or repurposing. There are many other properties that we're attempting to bring into compliance. Due to ongoing investigations, we can't get too specific with them, but we are working collaboratively with the Board of Health on trying to bring quite a few other properties, vacant and occupied, into compliance.
Very good, thank you. Any further questions from the committee?
I have none this evening.
Thank you for
All
answering.
right, thank you, councilors.
We'll take a few more questions for you. Thank you. So, measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Rick Germinal to the position of local building inspector. 4 from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Both Mr. Germano and Mr. Imprescia, who's in the next one, are reappointments. They're both represented by the Teamsters Union that we have here representing our inspectional services department. But for Mr. Germano, he's worked in the building department for several years. Most recently, when former Commissioner Jean was appointed commissioner and left the local building inspector role, Rick went back into that position. That said, Mr. Germano was employed by the city of Gardner back when Commissioner Reynolds was commissioner. He was the local inspector here, then left, and then came back when Roland Jean was appointed building commissioner. So he's done a lot of work for Gardner over a lot of time. He's really dedicated to his job. He's very thorough in his inspections and has been a really big asset to the city, and I'm happy to put him forward again for reappointment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as the department head, Commissioner Nizuka, would you like to give a report?
Of course. So I first met Inspector Germano a few years back at one of our many district meetings that we go to. Even before I first spoke to him, I could tell that he was a good inspector, was a knowledgeable inspector, just by the questions that he asked during the training. Having been able to work with Inspector Germano since last May, I've come to know him personally, come to witness his work ethic. He is a tremendous asset to the city of Gardner. He knows the city well. He knows the building code well. I'm bringing him up to speed a little bit more on zoning. It is something that he is taking more of an interest in, which is something that I love to see from the inspectors. Lots of residential and commercial and industrial experience. So he's a wealth of knowledge and, as I stated, an asset to the city of Gardner.
And does the local building inspector handle all 3, the residential, commercial, municipal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So inspectors do it all. So inspectors also enforce zoning by my extension. So if we get complaints in the office, whether digital, phone call, paper complaints, they will actually go out and investigate those complaints as well. It's the only way that you can do the job as an inspector. You have to do all of it, and he does it all very well.
Very good, Councilor Hager.
I don't think any questions this evening.
Councilor Heath.
Thank you. I actually have no questions either. Thank you.
And I only have the standard question of, for the local building inspector, are there certificates, licenses that he either needs to pursue or is in his possession?
Nothing new that he needs to pursue. He holds his local building inspector certification, and then he also participates in all of his continuing education, which takes place in many forms. Some of it can be done through the International Code Council online, and you submit the certificates. If an inspector attends all of his district meetings, which would be once a month, in our case we're members of several districts, so he gets more than enough credits, continuing education credits for when his certification comes up for renewal. He'll have all that continuing education.
Very good. And for the districts, is that Worcester County, or are we thinking?
Well, so we have, the state has districts.
Oh, okay.
And I believe if I remember correctly, it's 9 districts broken up throughout the state. We are District 3, there's also District 4, and then there's some other building official committees that we're all members of.
Interesting, thank you. Any further questions? Thank you for the report. Item C, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of James E. Impreska to the position of plumbing and gas inspector. Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Inspector Impresha has been with the city for close to 10 years now, serving in this position. It's a part-time role, but he is the local plumbing inspector for the town of Westminster as well. Some of our inspectors do that too, where they're us full-time during the day and then have second jobs after hours in other communities. That's pretty normal for most municipalities in these types of positions around the state. He's been very thorough in his job, again, working with individuals who are coming in for permit and project requests to see what they need beforehand and how they need to work through those. Most recently with Growing Places at Waterford Street School, I know he sat down with their contractor and said, all right, this is everything that the code says you need in the end. Let's talk about how we're going to get you to that final product. And that's something that's really, I guess, emblematic of Jimmy's work ethic, is that he's willing to work with people and get them to where they need to be, but again, still following all parts of the code and showing them the roadmap on how to get there rather than putting up a roadblock at the beginning instead. So I've been very impressed with his work.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Zubo.
I will just reiterate what the mayor had said. Inspector Prescia, at one point in time, sat on the plumbing inspector's board. He's an incredibly knowledgeable inspector. One of the things that he does extremely well, aside from his knowledge of the plumbing and gas codes, is his willingness to meet with contractors or other individuals, design professionals, prior to the start of their project. One of the things that we reiterate time and time again is we want communication from the general public. We want communication from them, from homeowners. We want communication from the contractors. We would all, and this is kind of the atmosphere that we have in the building department now, is we would much rather work with you through the project and guide you than have to stop you. If we have to stop you, it's a very different road that we have to go down. Sometimes it can be really messy. So one of the great things that we all try to do, and Jimmy is fantastic with that, is spending time with individuals ahead of time to make sure that they have the proper knowledge before they even start the project.
It's good to hear. Councilor Heath.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilor Hagelin.
No, nothing else for me to say.
It's great to hear about Inspector Imprescia, about how good a work he does and how you recommend his work. Is this, because he also is part-time Westminster, is this a full-time position, or is it?
This is a 20-hour part-time position for him. Because he's retired, he's limited to the number of hours he can work per year. And that's why he's part-time. If I could, I would love to have him full-time.
I mostly ask because it sounds like it's it's full-time work he's doing.
It really is. It should be a full-time position. I would love to have it be a full-time position. We also brought in an alternate inspector, Wayne Little, who is my plumbing and gas inspector in Fitchburg, knows Inspector Impression very well. They work fantastic together. So when he happens to be out on a vacation, Wayne steps right in and it's seamless. And he has the exact same mentality. So if I could have a full-time person, I would take him, but Jimmy does an amazing job.
To put this into perspective too, with his retirement from the state's plumbing board, the plumbing board is the board appointed by the governor that all inspectors statewide report to. So they're the ones who give the appeal decisions, they're the ones who give the yay and nay and the final say on these inspections. So they have to know everything back and forth because they're also some of the people who write the updates to these codes. So to have someone here in Gardner who was on that board and help basically write the codes that now he's enforcing. It's very invaluable for us to have.
Yeah, it's impressive. Thank you. Those are the appointments from us with your department. Commissioner Zupa, if you have other commitments to attend to, or you're welcome to stay here.
I do. I have my vacation to continue. This is important, though. This is a
Well, I
priority.
appreciate
so I make
that.
sure to
Thank
be
you.
there.
Thank you for coming in on
All
your
right,
time
Thank
off.
you, Karen.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
good. Fantastic.
And have a good vacation.
Thank you.
Item D, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Charles LeBlanc to the position of Board of Assessors. Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. LeBlanc was first appointed to the Board of Assessors by Mayor Manka in the 1990s and has continued to serve in this position ever since. The Board of Assessors is highly regulated by the general laws of the Commonwealth and the Code of Regulations because they are the ones who set the valuations of different properties in the city that go towards how much we tax each individual property across the city on an annual basis. That process to define how much a property is assessed and valued at is very regulated as to looking a 2-year look back on how qualifying sales went. On appeals, if someone thinks that their property is being incorrectly taxed, they actually have the hearing before this board, so you have to know those regulations on what can and cannot be appealed, and also how those valuations are built, so that if you think the valuation is based off of an incorrect value, why you believe it's in that manner. He comes highly recommended by the city's assessor, Christine Kumar, and I think he's done a great job on the role and look forward to seeing him continue in this position.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Heath.
Yes, I just wanted to go ahead and, I mean, obviously, he's not here, but being on the Board of Assessors for over a decade, what you said that he was also appointed by...
Yeah, I wasn't sure when I sent the original write-up. It
Yes.
turns out it's been longer than I've been alive.
Yes, so like, you know, it's just very impressive, and I'm just glad he's with the city.
Yeah.
With us. So that is all, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Heath. Councilor Hagelin.
Yeah, you know, I'll echo that, obviously, thank him for his years and years of service. Just out of curiosity, do you know if he had any, like, specific training in a previous life that got him in this spot?
He
or-
was a teacher, I believe.
Oh, geez, okay.
Yeah, he is a local Gardner resident.
Yeah.
He and his wife live on Bayberry in South Gardner. But I believe he was an English teacher.
That's enough for me, I like it.
That's fair. That's fair, Counselor. But I know he's gone through extensive training since then.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Very good. And I'm always especially grateful to people who, work for the committee for decades, like you said. It's a lot of that time and dedication to our city, and I'd like to thank Mr. LeBlanc for his services. Move on to the next item. Any further questions?
No.
A measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Timothy Horgan to the position of redevelopment authority. Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a reappointment. The bylaws of the Gardner Redevelopment Authority state the stipulations as to who makes up their membership. Requires a local real estate professional, a local business owner, someone who has planning background, and it specifically fills it out as to what that makeup is made up from for the mayoral appointees, and then the governor gets an appointment too that is not restricted by those bylaws because it's enabled by a state statute that was signed by the governor to begin with. Mr. Horgan fills the business owner slot for that, having been the owner of Horgan Cleaners in South Gardner for several years, along with his brother. During his time, he's brought a newer perspective and a newer voice to the Gardner Redevelopment Authority, bringing in, modern ideas on how can we attract businesses here, how can we work with people and individuals to get, Gardner back up and running in these properties that we're looking at selling, to people who they should be going to and people who are going to be invested in Gardner. I think this committee is going to be very busy coming up in the next couple of years, not only with the things that they already had on their plate with the sale of the Garbos lot next to Tractor Supply, the sale of the old S-Bent property behind that, and the Rear Main Street project that the Gardner Redevelopment Authority is overseeing, but also just with the general expansion and interest that we've seen in Gardner over the past couple years. This is something that we're going to be looking at the Gardner Redevelopment Authority with a greater eye to make sure that we have, a sense on how to move the city forward rather than holding the city back.
Very good. Councilor Hagelin.
I think, I'll just echo again, thank you to, Tim for his years of service. I will echo and agree that with his business experience and his knowledge of the city of Gardner, and I think he's an asset to that, to the GRA and that organization. Yeah, appreciate you speaking on his behalf.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hagelin. Councilor Heath.
I just want to basically echo exactly what Councilor Hagelin and Andrew said. Thank you for your years of service. I'm excited about anybody that's trying to go ahead and help businesses come to Gardner. And, you know, being here for years, decades, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy that he's getting reappointed. I'm happy that the way the direction of Gardner's going. I'm happy with any involvement that he has within it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Heath. Similarly, I was, you know, especially business owners looking to improve the city by getting on these boards and commissions. Mr. Mayor, is the GRA full of membership, or are there
It is
current
not.
vacancies?
We do have a current vacancy created by the late Ron Cormier's passing. We are looking at options to see who we should be able to fill that with. But again, we're taking a look because there's also expirations that have happened on that committee too, that we're, you know, just not changing for lack of vision, but changing to get new perspective and rearranging where those individuals may fall into our future goals.
Very good. I think, you know, especially as the committee chair, I think the appointments committee is very interested in who will make up that composition of that committee, because it is a very important authority in our city. A lot of important decisions, a lot of opportunities actually for our city with this committee. So it's good to hear that you were looking at bringing us an appointee. Any further questions?
None.
Next item, a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of Linda Dembeck to the position of Disability Commission. Report from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, this morning, Ms. Dembeck called my office and then later notified me in writing that will be forwarded to the city council that due to a medical diagnosis that a close family member received, she doesn't have the time to be able to serve on this committee and make this commitment anymore. So she is asking that her appointment be withdrawn and removed from the agenda. But she will look to see if after things get a little more settled and under control there, if this is something she'd like to come back to at a later date.
And unfortunately, here in your best wishes to the Dembeck family. Any questions from councilors? Thank you. Next item, resignations, Mr. Mayor.
There are no resignations to report on at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion on appointees interviewed. Any further discussions from the committee on the appointees interviewed?
No? No.
Very good. Let's see, any motions on interviewed appointees?
Yeah, I will, I move to, recommend favorably from our committee confirmation of the appointees A through E.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Hegland, second by Councilor Heath, to recommend the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Thomas Supa to the position of building commissioner. Rick Germano, thank you. I'm having a rough day today. To the position of local building inspector. James Impreza to the position of plumbing and gas inspector. Charles LeBlanc to the position of board of assessors. And Timothy Horgan, the position of redevelopment authority, made by Councilor Hegland, second by Councilor Heath. Is there discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion's passed. And I'll make a motion that we, to remove from the agenda Linda Dembeck from the position of Disability Commission member.
Seconded?
Motion made by Chair Tyro, second by Councilor Hegland to recommend removal of item 11207 from the council's calendar. Is there discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Referrals from the full council, there are 3 items that we'll take up at a future meeting. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Seconded?
Motion made by Councilor Heath, seconded by Councilor Hegland to adjourn. Is there discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed, no. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.